Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace and blessings and mercy of Allah upon you, brothers and sisters, and everybody who's watching this video. This is the introduction for the book العقيدة الواسطية. العقيدة الواسطية is the creed or the belief system of أهل السنة والجماعة. أهل السنة والجماعة. What's that mean? What is the mean أهل السنة والجماعة? أهل السنة والجماعة, they are a group of people, they are a group of Muslims who believe in Islam as the teaching of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the companions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they take their understanding of the Quran from the understanding of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the companions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the tabi'een and atba' tabi'een. What's the meaning of a tabi'een? This is another term or concept we need to explain the meaning of tabi'een and the meaning of atba' tabi'een. So those words, those concepts, those terminologies we need to understand in order to understand this book by Ibn Taymiyyah. But to make things simple, the generation, there is a hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, خير الناس قرني ثم الذين يلونهم ثم الذين يلونهم. The best generation is my generation and the one after that and the one after that. So that ends at the end of the 3rd century Hijri, as the ulama says. So the generation of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba, that's the first generation. The second generation, after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, and the second generation called at-tabi'een. The third generation called the atba' tabi'een. So those three generations, as the Prophet mentioned in the hadith, they are the best generation of understanding the deen, understanding the belief system of Muslims. And this is what Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah means they are the Muslims who stick to the understanding of Quran and Sunnah for the first generation. I hope that makes things simple. I hope that explains what the meaning of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they are a group of Muslims who believe in the Quran and the Hadith, which is the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Anything he say, anything he do, anything he doesn't reject or agree with, an action being done in front of him and he didn't reject it, that's called a Sunnah. So the Sunnah, there is saying of the Prophet, there is the action of the Prophet, there is al-iqrar, what's called al-iqrar. Al-iqrar means one of the companions do something and the Prophet doesn't reject it, or the Prophet doesn't oppose it. That's called iqrar. So it's if it was prohibited, the Prophet would say something. But because he didn't say something for that specific action, it means it is permissible in a very simple way. So this is the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah means. And there's different name for that. There's another name called a Salafi, Salafiyin. The same group but different name. The word Salaf it comes from the early generation. In the Arabic language, the word Salaf and Khalaf. Salaf means the early generation, the Prophet Muhammad and the companions and the Tabi'een and the Atba' Tabi'een. This is why you'll hear somebody say, I am Salafi. Salafi means not a political sect. Salafi is a teaching of the Prophet Muhammad and the companions of the Prophet and the second generation and the third generation. This is the meaning of Salafi. It's the same group of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. What's other names being called those group of people? Being called Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they're being called Salafi, and there's other names, other sect called them to mark them, like Wahhabis, like Shia. They call Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah Wahhabis. And this name refers to one of the scholars of later generation. His name Muhammad Abdul Wahhab, and that's why the Shia mock the Sunnah and make fun of the Sunnah sometimes, and they call him Wahhabis. They mean referring to a scholar of his name, Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab. But that's not one of the legit name for Ahl Sunnah. Ahl Sunnah, they are being called Ahlul Hadith. That's one of the names of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Ahlul Hadith, the people of Hadith. The people of Hadith, because they stick to the understanding of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he is the Prophet and he is the one who will most know the meaning of the Quran and the Sunnah. So three names: Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, Salafi, and Ahlul Hadith. And there is fourth name, Ahlul Athar. Athar means the remaining of something or somebody. Like when you walk on the sand, your footsteps, that's called athar. So they follow the hadith, and over here the athar means the hadith and the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is four names as I remember. Let me say them again: Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, السلف الصالح, أهل الحديث, أهل الأثر. Those four names, the legit name for Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. It's not a political sect. It's a teaching. It's a body of system. It's a system of knowledge. Has its own foundation, its own principles in Quran or Sunnah. It's a science basically. It's a discipline with there is foundation for it, there is fundamentals for it, for each science, and the idea or the ideology is built on those foundations. Built like physics. There's a view to this universe. There's principles in physics. There's fundamentals in physics, and you built your idea based on the principles. Same thing with those people. They have principles. But to make this video short, I stop right here because 10 minutes and 20 seconds. There's so much to talk about, so many topics. Inshallah, we will meet in another video, and we'll talk about each one of those topics separately. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum.